Is UKIP homophobic?
Absolutely not. There have been, as we've seen in the media, people who have been suspended from the party for homophobic comments, and I'm sure there are people who are homophobic in UKIP, but likewise there are people who are homophobic and racist in any party. What UKIP is doing is taking a hardline approach to these now. We're a party that has done some growing up. There is an LGBT network in UKIP, and we definitely are not a homophobic party.
You suffered homophobia while serving with the police?
Yes, I mean the police is an institution, and like in any institution, there is people who harbour those homophobic views. All I can say in UKIP, we are being tough on those people, and when those views are expressed, then it is clear that people are being homophobic and discriminatory. UKIP is dealing with them in a robust fashion. UKIP is not homophobic at all. There may be this perception, and for me that is an issue, and I, along with many other gay people within UKIP and the LGBT group within UKIP, which there is, have to deal with it, and we've got to win people over, we've got to win their trust. So it is an issue that we have to face, and we have to win people support on, but I am confident that we will do that, and the more people see us, the more people realise actually we're a party full of everybody that represents the views across society that isn't racist, that isn't sexist, and that isn't most definitely homophobic.
You say it's not racist. That's another of these conceptions about UKIP. Can you explain that?
Well, for about 10 years under Labour, it was seen as a dirty thing talking about immigration, and it almost became a racist thing. If you talked about immigration, you were being racist. Well, it is not racist to say let's have a sensible immigration policy, an immigration policy where we can control the numbers coming in, an immigration policy where we can plan for the school places, for the infrastructure, the housing. No, that isn't a racist thing, that is just a sensible policy to control numbers. Now, thankfully in the last few years, people have realised that it isn't racist to talk about immigration. But for a long time, UKIP was talking about immigration while it was perceived to be racist. And I think there are still those labels that people think, wow, UKIP are racist because of the immigration issue. Now, that isn't the case, and more people have realised that. But we need to still convince people that those who have harboured those racist views, and there have been some, like there have been in all the parties, are being dealt with. And I can assure people that they are being dealt with most robustly. And being thrown out of the party, like I would hope in all the other parties. It's popular, it has been in the mainstream media, to portray UKIP in a particular light, and that is a light of fruitcakes, in effect. So that's what the report. If the media really wanted to look at all the other people in all the other parties, they would see that there are as many quote fruitcakes in the Labour Party, the Conservative Party and those parties, but it doesn't fit with the branding and the image that they want to portray. We are no more fruitcake-esque than any other party.
You're not a fruitcake?
Well, I don't think I'm a fruitcake. I may have some wacky ideas, but I think I'm still functioning quite normally, yes.
Okay, what's your wackiest idea?
What's my wackiest idea? Oh God, now you're asking. I think what people really want is policies or ideas. Now, you may not agree with everything I say. My lecturers here may not agree, but I would hope that they agree with the essence, and I hope that they'll support the fact that I am from this part of London. I have grown up here. I do know the issues. I've policed and worked here, and hopefully we can come together. So one of my specialities is policing, having been in the police for 9 years. I think we should get rid of PCSOs.
Yeah. Why do you think you've got a chance here?
What do I think we've got a chance? Well, I think really people are just fed up with the main political parties. They never answer questions, they're always dodging the issues, and to be honest, they come across as quite self-interested. The local MP here isn't particularly impressive, hasn't got a particularly impressive record, and I think people just want real change. They want somebody who is from the area, who understands the issues and is going to fight their corner. I'm not convinced that Mary, in her 5 years here, has really fought the corner of Brentford and Isleworth.
Okay. What about, how are you going to fight your campaign?
Well, we're going to be out there, so we've got a whole sort of sessions planned throughout the election campaign.
Like what?
So we're going to do what all the parties do, which is be out there knocking on doors, speaking to people, listening to people. So part of it is reassuring people that actually, we have a presence, that yes, we have a chance, and we've got some really good policies and really good ideas. So part of it is going out there and speaking to people, which we have been doing, and we're ramping it up as we get up into the election campaign. But the other part is social media. And I think this is quite vital. Today there was an article in The Guardian that a third of young voters say that social media will influence how they vote. So for me, it's very important to try to harness this and speak to people, not run away from the media, not run away from people who want to ask questions. There will be difficult
Are the others running away?
Of course they are. They're having very carefully managed campaigns with press officers around them because they're scared of being asked difficult questions.
What you're saying, Ruth Cadbury and Mary McLeod?
Yes, most definitely. Now, I may not get the questions right all the time. I may not like some of the questions, but I will answer them, and you can take it or leave it.
What about you? Are you going to be going out on the streets?
I have been going out on the streets, and I will continue to go out on the streets. And I challenge the other candidates, and not just the two main candidates, to engage with me in a weekly hustings or debate session, call it whatever you want to do.
Every week?
I think that would be very helpful from April to the election campaign, so we have a regular dialogue and not just haphazardly the ones that they decide they want to because they've got more support there. My concern is this is being managed by the two main parties as a two-horse race. Well, it's not. I challenge the other candidates to join me on a weekly basis from April right up to the 7th of May to discuss the issues of Brentford and Isleworth, the issues that affect us nationally, and have head-on debates in the town hall or
in public.
We'd have it in public,
televised.
Well, we can have it broadcast on YouTube,
Brentford
recorded
TV.
Brentford TV, so everyone, people who can't make it, can get it. I think it's really important to try to engage these voters, and that's not what they're doing. So what we want to do is get the messages we want to say out to people. So every week we want these debates, and we want everyone to see. We want journalists to come along, and they can make up their mind. And that's what we call real democracy. So that is a challenge to the other candidates, and I would quite like to get together and discuss these issues and see what we all have to say, and that is real democracy. And I don't know why the other candidates wouldn't want to do that, and if they don't want to do it, I'd be keen to hear their reasons.
What questions do you want to put to the two main candidates, Ruth Cadbury and Mary McLeod?
Well, I mean, I think Mary has a lot of questions because she's the incumbent. Now, she's been here for 5 years. In that time, we've seen a food bank that is feeding over 2,000 people a year. Well, is she proud of that? I saw her.
She says she's inspired by it.
She said she was, and I was completely outraged. She's inspired by a food bank that's feeding 2,000 people. Absolutely shocking. What she should be is discussing that the people are having to revert to these food banks. People, some of the most vulnerable people in society. That isn't an inspiring thing. That is a disgusting thing.
Is not UKIP more right-wing than Tories? Wouldn't they take us into further austerity?
UKIP is a little bit of how would I describe it? A mongrel in some respects. It has left-wing views, it has right-wing views. It is a libertarian party. It believes in not being dependent on the state. So yes, it would cut things. Now, what UKIP wants to do, for instance, is to save money. Apart from leaving the European Union, it wants to cut government departments. So its policy is to cut the Department for Energy and Climate Change, and to cut culture, media and sport. For that. It's interesting today that the Taxpayers Alliance suggests they cut in 3 departments, of which those 2 were included, and they said it would make a significant saving without little if any impact on society, government, anything else. So yes, we would maintain cuts, but perhaps not in the same line.
How big are you in this constituency?
We are growing. The more we get out there, the more people see actually.
How many?
How many members do we have? Off the top of my head, I can't tell you. But we are growing. But
what evidence is there for that?
What evidence is the the emails that I have and the phone calls that I have received. We are growing. We are in effect the small fish up against the mighty establishment, and what they are trying to do is keep me out of debates and discussions, and try to focus it on them as a two-horse race. So we've got a fight in our hands. We've got a challenge to be heard, and I suspect Mary McLeod will not want to engage in a weekly debate session, because by giving people like me a voice, it threatens her existence. Because she's not really interested in democracy. She's interested in being re-elected for her own self-gain and advancement.
So you think social media, like Brentford TV, is changing it?
I think it is absolutely changing it. It's given people who wouldn't necessarily attend these hustings, it's given them a way to have a look from the comfort of their own living room, and it's informing them. People will make more informed decisions. It cannot be a bad thing for democracy, and I don't know why people would not want to partake in it.
Tell us about yourself.
Okay, I'm 34, ex-police inspector. I was on the Met for 9 years, went to Gunnersbury School, which is a local school in Brentford, and then went on to West Thames College in Isleworth. Currently work as a criminal defence barrister.
Why did you leave the police force?
I did exactly 9 years to the day, and yes, there was issues in the police where I did sue them, but that wasn't the reason. I fancied a change, and I thought I was young enough to get out and do something different, which I was, and then I went back to law school. I know the constituency inside out. Not only have I grown up here and have friends here, went to school across the borough and college, I was also pleased here. I've been into people's homes, and I don't suspect Mary for one moment has been into people's homes and seen them at the lowest. I don't suspect she's been into the people's homes when they can't afford to get the bus into town to buy some shopping. She hasn't seen actually the real issues. She's completely clueless, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think she really cares. She's not a local MP. She's from Scotland, who came down here, parachuted by the Conservatives. She doesn't care for the local areas. If she did, she wouldn't be saying she's inspired by the food bank. So what I bring is not only being local, my experience in the police, having been into people's houses from across the spectrum, the rich and the poor, in difficult times. I know I have seen at first hand the real issues that affect people, so many people across the borough, and it's the mainstream parties and the people who spend their life in politics, career politicians, they just simply don't understand, and that's what people are fed up with. We see more and more now is career politicians, people who go off to a very good boarding school quite often, and there's nothing wrong with that, and then go off to Oxbridge and then end up working in Parliament as a researcher, and then become a special advisor, and then before you know it, they're an MP. Well, they have no experience. Let's have a look. Who's that? That's David Cameron. That's in effect George Osborne. Boris Johnson, they have very little experience of the world, but yet they're governing us and telling us how to run our lives. David Cameron, the Prime Minister, was in Isleworth only 2 days ago, and announcing that under the future Conservative government, they will bring in 500 free schools. And in the same token of breath, he went on to say that when he found out that his daughter got into a local state school in Westminster, it was a weight off his shoulders. Well, come on, David Cameron, pull the other one. We're talking about the millionaire Prime Minister here, the Prime Minister who went to Eton, the Prime Minister who is from a family of landed gentry. It was no weight off his shoulders because he had the money. And if he was not the Prime Minister, he would have sent his daughter to a very expensive school, Cheltenham Ladies' School perhaps. So don't for one moment try to kid me or the public that you are like any other family, that it's a weight off your shoulder that your daughter got into a good school, because it simply wasn't. If anything, you've been playing politics with your children, and that is disgusting.
Ruth Cadwood's the favourite here. How are you going to challenge her?
Well, again, it's important that Ruth does come to these debates, and if she doesn't come, I want to know why she doesn't want to come. I want a genuine reason. We've got to discuss the issues and go face to face, and we'll allow the people to decide.
Will you set up the debates and put 2 empty chairs there?
Yes, I will. Now,
so you're going to empty chair them? Yeah. Well, are you going to actually go and set up a debate, send out the time to them?
Yep.
And if it's only you there,
sure
I'll still come and film it.
I'm sure there'll be other candidates, but yes. I know we have one debate already in, but I think it's important that we try to get a weekly debate. And if they don't agree, then I think we will do that, because it just highlights their lack of wanting to be involved with their electorate and discuss it. But what I've got to do is raise the issues of Labour. Labour do not want, let's say, a referendum on Europe. Now, that's quite undemocratic. Most of this country is crying out, one way or the other, for a referendum, but they say no. Well, that's not democracy. They want, it was under Labour we had an uncontrolled immigration policy, and we'll probably revert back to that. So we have to talk about these issues and allow people to decide what is it they want.
When you go out and meet people, do they come up with a prejudice against UKIP?
Yes, it's probably one of the hardest things that I think I face is when I go out, as soon as I walk over and they realise I'm from UKIP, their initial, or often, not always, but often people's initial reaction is, I don't want to speak to you, or you're racist or whatever, especially the younger people, because the media have brainwashed and they fed these stories of racism, sexism, homophobia, and they've painted UKIP as the nasty party. So what I have to do, and what we all have to do in UKIP, is get over that, and that is by getting candidates out and speaking to people and convincing and reassuring people that we're not how the media have tried to portray us. And if we can do that, and if we can persuade people that we're not racist, sexist or homophobic or anything like that, which we are not, then just think how well we could do, because we are a party with common sense policies, and a party that many people, when you ask, do you believe in X, Y or Z, they said yes, 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 but they won't vote for UKIP because of the image and the stereotypes it has.
Why doesn't UKIP work so well in London?
I think, as I said, why doesn't UKIP work so well in London? Well, for the 10 years of the Labour government, when we had uncontrolled immigration, UKIP was talking about it. So UKIP, the perception was UKIP was racist because it talked about immigration. Now, that wasn't true. And because of that, and because of London being a very multicultural city, people have thought, well, I'm uneasy with this. So what we need to do is again, as I say, convince people that we're not racist, and whether you're from India or China, wherever you're from, it doesn't make any difference. What we want to do is have a controlled, sensible immigration policy for everyone, and we haven't done that, and partly because the National Party haven't put so much investment into trying to persuade people, because it's been too much of a hard battle. And let's not forget, we're a relatively new party with very limited funds and very limited resources, so we have to pick where we fight our battles. We can't fight everywhere.
Is Nigel Farage really your hero?
He is my, I think I wrote an article.
You were swept off your feet by him.
Swept off my feet, a nice and shine home, I said, and that's come back to haunt me many a times. Nigel Farage has done great things for this country, or at least for our party, and I would say for the country. If it wasn't for him, there would be no promise from the Conservatives of a referendum on Europe. If it wasn't for him driving UKIP, it would still be a dirty word to talk about immigration. He has brought debate onto the table, and he's forcing the other politicians to basically discuss the issues they don't want to discuss. He's making it more interactive. It no longer is a two-horse race. And that is a very good thing for our democracy.
Is that good in principle?
It's very good in principle, yes. And you can see why the mainstream parties are trying to close down UKIP, are trying to silence us, because we're a threat to them.
What, here and nationally?
Of course, yes. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed, this is a target seat, obviously both for Labour and Conservatives. And the Conservatives need to win this seat if they're to form a government. And we have seen ministers being flooded in, and press offices around Mary, just making sure she's not saying anything wrong. So they're really trying to silence the minor parties. And what do they say? They say, well, it's between Labour and the Conservatives. If you hear Michael Gove speak, he says this is a choice between Labour or the Conservatives, and they say we're the only ones that can deliver a referendum. Well, I think that line is becoming a bit boring, Michael Gove and the Conservatives, because it's not a two-horse race. Social media and the likes of Brentford TV and another type of journalists are bringing the debate into people's homes, and people realise now that there is more than just the usual choices.
Do you think you've got a chance?
Yes, I do, absolutely. This election is going to be probably one of the most exciting elections I've seen in my life, because we simply do not know what's going to happen. So I think we need to be out there talking to people and trying to fight our corner and say, vote for us. If you vote for us, we'll do something different. We're not going to be, and we are not like the mainstream parties. I think we have a real chance
of winning.
We have. I would like to say so. There is a chance, and William Hill put us at 66 to 1.
What, for Brentford?
Yes, 100 to 1 of the Lib Dems, Labour slightly in front, and Conservative second. So they put us third. No, I think for us, on a very good day, we could win. We don't know what's going to happen in the run up to their campaigns. We don't know what Mary will or won't say that will annoy the electorate and conversely Ruth. We just simply don't know what impact social media will have. I think what we want to do is challenge those parties, and if we don't, we want to get a good share of the vote and really make them think and work in future for the vote, because it's not just now against the Labour Party, it's against other small parties or independent candidates.